Brawlhalla is a platform fighter that I openly criticize, and although the developer team is great and does a lot of charity work, that doesn't mean the game is exempt from criticism. I'd like to quickly say though that a lot of concepts that I cover in this video, I cover in greater depth in my Rivals of Aether video. So if any point you feel confused, just check the description and watch my Rivals of Aether video. Okay, now that's out of the way, let me get to explain why this game is fucking bullshit. The game removes so many concepts that are normally present in other platform fighters, and instead of these removals aiding it and giving it more depth, it ultimately destroys any sort of possible depth. For example, the lack of a ledge. The lack of a ledge isn't a problem in of itself, but it can become one if you do it wrong. In Brawlhalla, when you get to a wall, you can just spam wall jump to get back to stage, which allows you to recover from virtually anywhere, which I think we can all tell how that could be problematic from Smash 4. Also, when you do get back to the wall, there's such little depth there that it's abysmal. It removes the depth that a normal ledge would give, and replaces it with, is he gonna recover low? Is he gonna recover high? And that's not a problem, as long as you're able to replace the lost depth with increased speed, which Brawlhalla doesn't, since you can just stall the edge for ages. It's honestly absurd that they just let you wall jump to stall on ledge without anything to stop you, except a shitty wall jump counter that stops you if you've done too many consecutive wall jumps. But that only comes into play when you've wall jumped 12 times, which is way too long. It is brain numbing when someone gets back to ledge, stalls there for 10 hours, gets hit away, and then repeats. Also, did I mention that you get free mid-air jumps? Yeah, that turns this already long and tedious bullshit into something much worse. And there's more than just that. There's no short hop, no specials, no side tilt, no grab, no shield, no ability to map anything to the C-stick, no walking, no neutral, no back air, no percent bar, and no landing lag. But I'd like to focus on the last one specifically. If you time your aerial correctly, you will continue to do that aerial whilst on the ground, which is virtually equivalent to having no landing lag, especially since you can cancel the aerial into a jump if you're on the ground performing it. You can also press jump in the middle of an aerial to double jump whilst performing it. All of these aspects accumulate together to create an aerial spamming meta on par with the Kung Fu Panda platform fighter, which is a game that has no landing lag and has an aerial spamming meta. Just kidding, that game doesn't have enough players to have a meta. Honestly, I can't figure out for the life of me why the devs chose to do this. It honestly, it's a bit of a misplay. Oh wait, and there's another thing missing that I forgot to mention. The characters. Brawlhalla is missing any semblance of uniqueness with its characters, but honestly, with the amount of weapons in the game and signatures, I think this could work as the differentiating factor, if it weren't for one thing, the silhouettes. I talked about this in great detail in my Rivals of Aether video, but in short, silhouettes help you to tell who's who, and also tell how a character plays. When you're playing at such a speed, colors stop mattering, which makes silhouettes important in determining which character you are, and where you are on the stage. Silhouettes are also incredibly user-friendly, because you can disclose a character's entire playstyle in a matter of seconds. When you see Bowser's silhouette from Smash, you can immediately tell, oh shit, he's the big guy. And when you're comparing the silhouettes of Bowser and Marth, you can completely tell the difference. Even with very similar characters like Roy and Marth, you can tell the difference. Since the idol poses are so different, they both communicate different playstyles. You can see that Roy has already swung his sword, communicating an impatience and telling us about his fast-paced playstyle. Now if we look at Marth, we can see that he is standing straight with his sword in an outwards position, in a calculating demeanor. This tells us that Marth's playstyle is going to be very calm and calculated, taking advantage of others' mistakes rather than rushing them down, which is basically a turn-based character, but let's not. Now let's translate this to Brawlhalla. Yeah, I haven't figured that part out yet. Now let's translate this to Brawlhalla. Nash looks exactly the same as Lord Vrax. You can barely tell which one's which, and not to mention their playstyles. What's this one even supposed to do? You can't tell how they play from a guy that stands up straight, because all of them are guys that stand up straight. It doesn't fucking matter if Obama's been added to the game if his moveset's not based around the fact that he's the 44th president of America. If Obama was added to literally any other game, I would be so excited. I'd be speculating his moveset like crazy and meme the shit out of him on launch. But when he was added to Brawlhalla, I was just like, okay, then throw him onto the pile of John Cena's and Kung Fu Pandas. Speaking of absurdity, let's talk about items. Items are banned in competitive platform fighters because of one thing, RNG. You could randomly start the match and then immediately after get a superstar. And oops, guess that's one stock for me then. And even though items is an area where Brawlhalla does pretty decently at, I will give them that, they're still inherently unbalanced. Imagine this, Grand Finals Evo. Boomy versus Sandstorm. Boomy just pulled off a sick edgeguard against Sandstorm and made him lose his weapon because he entered Tumble. That's a disadvantage to Sandstorm. Without his reliable threatening weapon, it's going to be really difficult for him to get in. If only he didn't get hit by that edgeguard. If only he recovered in a more clever... Oh, and a spike ball spawns right next to him, winning him the whole tournament. The grand prize goes to Sandstorm. Whoa! See the problem with that? It was complete RNG whether Sandstorm got the spike ball and won, or Boomy was able to out-neutral him with his superior weapon. And the worst part is that the algorithm rewarded Sandstorm for making the mistake of losing his weapon, since the algorithm only spawns in items when someone is missing a weapon, and prefers to spawn them closer to the person without a weapon, which creates situations like this, where you get rewarded for failing at something, which works terribly for a competitive platform fighter, but very well for a casual one. Right, I was just informed by a friend that official tournaments have recently been turning off items a lot more lately, but I'm not going to get rid of this because it took way too long to do this, and he never said anything about all tournaments. Speaking of all, it seems Brawlhalla's hitboxes hit all the stage. I swear, sometimes it feels like a move should have hit or shouldn't have hit. There's no in between. If you hit too close to the hilt of your weapon, there's just no hitbox. And I don't even think this is that controversial of a point. Many Brawlhalla players can agree with me here, but the hitboxes are a meme. End of segment. Speaking of end, you can never fucking tell when the opponent's stock is gonna end. The fact that they replaced the reliable percent icon with a fucking color is so absurd. It's so imprecise that you can never tell when your combo will hit or not. There's a huge difference between 40% to 50%, but not a very big difference from orange to reddish orange. And then there are precise things that you're missing out on, like percent specific combos, which means if there's a combo that you can only do at 69% in any other platform fighter, you'll completely miss out on being able to do that in Brawlhalla, without performing incredulous amounts of guesswork, when in any other platform fighter, you could just look down, see the funny number, and do the doot-doot combo, which should be something you can do in Brawlhalla, considering how much more combo related it is than any other platform fighters. This way of displaying damage feels more like a cheap way of not being called a Smash clone than a legitimate design decision from the dev team. And it's absolute garbage. But you know what? It's not that bad of a mechanic for casual games. I'm beginning to sense a pattern. All in all, Brawlhalla is a pretty bad game if you look at it objectively from a competitive lens. With very bad mechanics for a platform fighter, probably a 4 out of 10, but over my time analyzing this game to no end for this video, I found a pretty decent game. You can see that many of the mechanics I criticize for ruining the competitive integrity of the game here are all pretty good for a casual game. Like gadgets causing hectic fun, the health bar discouraging you to go tryhard because there are no percent specific combos, which are typically very powerful and tryhard things to go for, and all characters having extremely forgiving recoveries to help casuals with their most commonly worst part of the game. Whilst it's not the perfect casual platform fighter, it certainly does hit some good high points, which is why, when you look at this game from a casual lens, I rate it a 7 out of 10. Oh shit, I forgot Ben 10's in the game, never mind, 10 out of 10.